What's up? Can you guys hear me okay? I don't know if I'm on the right. Am I on the right mic? I have no idea. This is weird. I don't love this. I got to figure out a different. Whoops. Knock my Lego man over. Um, I got to find a different spot for this. So, hey, I'm messing around with some cameras here. Some different angles. There we go. We're back. We're back on the OG shot. Um, my guest today, welcome. Also, we're a day behind on tech commute. My back's still bothering me, but we're here. My guest Natalie Muncy, Munchie. I'm gonna say Munchie because she's not here to prove correct me otherwise. Oh, thank you, Sayed, for that wonderfully long URL. Um, Hopefully, you can link that on LinkedIn somewhere. Throw it in the comments on the stream, and people can check it out if it's an article or blog post. Hey, hold on. There she is. Let's see. Did we get it? Did we get it right this time? We
Well,
did.
I had
I
to
hear you.
download I had to download Firefox because Chrome was not having it today. So
Oh my gosh, that's commitment.
it is.
Also, what's up with Chrome?
I
Like,
don't
why
know. I've
wasn't
never had
that
to do
working?
that before.
Neither have I. I've never heard of that.
Me either. It's a whole mood.
Well, hello and welcome. You finally made it. I was just kind of
Sorry.
explaining to everybody we're having some technical difficulty. It happens. Usually it's on my end though, so this is quite nice. It wasn't me for a change. It's not me, it's you this time.
Yeah.
Well, we finally get to meet virtually. We've chatted on LinkedIn for a while back and forth. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and we'll get started. It's great to have you, Natalie.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Natalie Muncy, a solutions architect at Carbon Web. So what we do is help companies integrate into Monday.com or adopt Monday.com, and we're a platinum partner with them. There's like over 1,000 different businesses using it right now with Carbon Web. So
Nice, nice. I'm not super familiar with, well, I'm familiar with the term solutions architect, but
mhm.
I want to kind of deep dive that a little bit more because that's not just a standard tech, I'm an engineer role.
Right.
And I think that something I'm starting to kind of discover is that people are missing opportunities not looking at some of these other types of roles like solutions architects or
Right.
things like that. So I kind of wanted to get into that and see how you even got started in tech and then how you ended up there and then we can kind of talk about that. So if you don't mind, let's rewind.
Okay.
Let's go back in Natalie Muncy's life and tell us a little bit about where your tech journey started.
Oh, where very first started, my cousin Brian would come. I'm from Eastern Kentucky, so in the mountains, so that's where the accent kind of comes from.
A little bit,
And
I see it.
yeah, I've been in Texas for 5 years, this over five now, so but it's still there because I work remotely, so you sound like who you talk to, right? A
Oh
lot.
yeah.
So my cousin Brian would bring down computer supplies from Columbus, Ohio. So the big city of Columbus, he would come down and see us. It's like 4.5 hours or 4 hours or so for him. And he would bring parts to computers and I would build them with him. And then I would learn to install things like back when there was like ROM material. We're on like dial-up internet at this point.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
grew up with Atari in the house, like from way back there. Um, so I would build things with him, and then we would install software, all those things. And it was so cool back then when you could make your mouse do something or be animated. That was a big thing, or your
Oh
cursor,
yeah.
big thing. I went to college and just kind of fell into the family trade of education, right? Because that's just what we do. It's a family of teachers mostly. Um,
Okay.
my dad was also a secondary English teacher, but then he went underground in the coal mines for, I said in a previous interview, 12 years, and my mother corrected me, it was 14. But he went in the coal mines for more money, right? So he just kind of did what he had to do, not necessarily because he wanted to go under there, but the money was so good he couldn't pass it up.
Sure.
Had four daughters, so we're quite expensive. Um, then,
I
um,
understand that. I have two, so
oh,
I can
I'd say
only
so. I have two
imagine.
myself as well. One's in college and one's 9. So
Oh
I've got both.
wow.
Yeah. Um, so I got into just kind of, I was always interested in tech. Like I used to love listening to launch radio. I don't know if you remember that Yahoo
Oh
used to.
yeah.
I was always into like how music connected to tech, right? And music was a lot of the entertainment I had because we didn't have like multiple TVs in the
Hmm.
house or anything growing up. So music was a lot of what I had. And then when I'm trying, like it's such a like disjointed kind of journey. So then I
As most are.
they are, it's
Most
wild.
are really.
And you offer a lot to your job, because you have the experience. But I worked in retail. I did everything, like everything from mutual funds to fast food. Like I've done it all.
Okay.
So I lots of retail, like clothing retail. So then I was on Twitter when it was new. I lived in the Boston area for a few years, and that was when you had the fail whale and all those things back
Oh,
then.
yeah, yeah.
And then people would like get in and steal your Twitter ID because it was worth something to have a lower number. You remember all this.
Yeah.
And so at that time I ran like a blog, but everybody had MySpace. So that was how HTML first was kind of started, for me. But then I got into the blogger side of it. So to upload images back then, it was much more convoluted. It was harder to do. You had to figure
Yeah.
out what you were doing. And so I had the entertainment blog for a while. It wasn't a big one, but it like paid my electric bill, and Juliana Rancic had shouted it out once. And so I got to learn like search engine optimization and how things grow from there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would track like, where everybody was actually reading from. I would send things to different DJs to let them know where they were more popular, like I did a lot of things like that. And then I just
Sure.
kind of went for my master's to teach because I knew I was going to have to raise my oldest one, by myself. So I moved back home, student taught, got my master's, did all the things. I ended up teaching ESL here in Texas, which
Oh,
is
wow.
English as a second language. We
Yeah.
had, I believe, 60 some different languages and dialects in one high school here. Massive 200 square mile district. It's in Leander near Austin. And I ended up teaching the other teachers how every school I was at, I was always like low key tech support. I wasn't getting the tech bucks, but I was.
Sure.
And I'm very patient, especially like with people who aren't as good with technology, like breaking it down for them. So
Wow. That in itself is a talent right there.
it is to also have like a logical kind of technical mind, but then be able to break it down is like, I didn't
Yeah.
realize how rare that was until I started working. So, but then I ended up having to train other teachers on how to use the English as a second language frontline software. So I was like, if I'm going to have to keep doing this everywhere I go, and like I would have to hold whole meetings, like planning periods, I'm on the screen showing people how to use stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, if I'm going to have to do this, then I would really like some of the money from it. That'd be real cool.
Yeah.
So I went to New Camp Coding Boot Camp for their full stack program. And I learned a lot there. It depends on how hard you're going to push yourself. Anybody can autopilot something and
Yeah.
everything. And so I ended up taking a job through LinkedIn, that not with LinkedIn, but like through my LinkedIn inbox.
Through, sure.
Yeah. From like, that's how they found me. And
Yeah.
so it was a company that was contracting for Google. And so ended up the team scaled from like, it was something like 10 or 12 people working there when I started. And in a year and a half, we went to over 1,600, close to 1,800. I ran over 200 projects with Google developers, like just me meeting with them in Gemini, like inside of the G Suite, Google space there, all that workspace.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I ran all those. It was different projects about how to train the language models. Then I ended up like burning out because I got moved to a search project that was in 4 countries and I was never sleeping, right? So then I hit I swear I thought burnout was something rich people complained about. I didn't know it was real, and like there were physical ramifications, like of not taking your hands off the keyboard to drink water. Like until you've been in it, you don't know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's very true.
Yeah. And then after that, I went to a 1099 position, and it was also working with a large client like that. But then I ended up doing more of the back end, like dev work automation there, which I learned a ton there. Just how to pull things using AppScript, Python, and Colab. I love VS Code. Like I'm just somebody that learned on it, so that's what I use.
Yeah.
But I learned there like how to automate a lot of different reports across spreadsheets, make it recreate people's names in different columns, stuff like that. It's really useful in automation. And then I also would use AppSheet, which is, cantankerous sometimes. And
Yeah.
so that was my introduction to low code. And then I was recruited for this position, and I really am enjoying learning about Monday.com. Like it's been great. I can't believe how many things Monday does. So I'll hush there. I don't know how far you want me to go.
No. That was perfect, and I definitely want to get into what Monday does a little bit too, because I'm genuinely curious. But we have a bunch of people in our community and just in my network that are self-taught or have gone to boot camps and are career transitioners, especially from education. How did you see the transferable skills from like working in education, then moving into tech? It seems like it was kind of natural for you because you were already sort of dipping into the tech side while you were doing educational stuff.
I see a lot of the skills transferring in that if you were somebody who just came from, I don't know, like a regular predictable job where your schedule was very set every day, you always knew what was going on. I
Hmm.
think you would have a hard time managing what teachers can manage in tech
Mm,
because you're constantly hit with distractions. Decision fatigue is not even on your radar because you're so used to making decisions so many a minute. You have, students coming at you, you have admin coming in the room needing things, emails on your watch, your phone from parents. I mean, it's all day, and so
hmm.
when you get in tech, you're like, oh, I'm used to this kind of pace, like you're used to having to switch
Yeah.
between a chat, software and then whatever else your company uses. So I think that's something that's good. Also, handling stress, noticing when people are about to escalate, especially if you have like client relations or anything like that,
Mm,
or even with developers. It's very good noticing because, much like teaching or working in retail or anywhere else, you half of what's going on might not be your fault, especially if you're in customer service. Like it might be
oh,
just
true.
they're having a bad day or whatever. So I think it's important to be able to read the room and know when people might need you to say something different or how to empathize with people, I think is really valuable too.
Yeah. No, those are huge points. I think the empathy thing goes a long way, and those are skills that really any industry are applicable. So I think it's super important that you brought that up. Hey Jordan, hey Seth, good to see everybody in the chat here. Um, So, I guess let's talk about the boot camp a little bit. Like, what was the decision there for you to go that route as opposed to like doing the self-taught?
I went that route because I needed the structure myself. Like I understand you're
Mm.
paying for the structure. They also have, or they had a program. I think they still have it, where like Google Cloud pays for part of it for women in
Oh
tech. So
wow.
you can get that. You have to write an essay and do some other things, but you can get that scholarship, and it's really helpful to help you pay for it. Because as a teacher, I certainly didn't have money to just blow every month on a boot
Sure.
camp. And then the commitment alone of having to sit yourself down every Saturday for that many hours, for especially for somebody like me, that's hard to do. Like to make yourself sit still for that long and just focus on that thing. And
Yeah.
and then I didn't know, like I would start working on a project for class and it'd be like the next morning, like my kid would pop in, like it was a lot of sacrifice in that way. I felt like she was like a standee and she kind of grew up like just passing by me while I
Mm.
was learning.
Sure.
So that was hard, but then I think it was all worth it because the most valuable thing I've heard a lot of people say on LinkedIn and elsewhere is just what you get out of a boot camp is kind of learning how you learn. So I feel
Mm.
like I can be sat in front of anything and I'm not going to absorb it in 30 minutes, but I will, like, I know how I need to approach it to get in
Sure.
there and learn. So I think that that's worth a lot.
Yeah, I love that point. That's one thing. If you're familiar with the 100 Devs community, one of the first things Leon has everybody do is the what is it? What's that one site with all the courses? I want to say it's Coursera, but I don't think that's where it is. It's called Learning How to Learn.
Okay.
Literally is what you just said, is understanding the way you do things and are able to be successful. So I think that that's a great point. How did reflecting on that, because you brought it up as like kind of what the time that you had to spend learning and trying to move forward in a different career, like how did that kind of weigh on you as far as like from the parenting perspective? Like how did you strike that balance? Because that's something that I also contend with often as well,
I
and I'm
will
sure
admit,
others do.
I'll admit and fully own the shame that like the laundry got done, the dishes got done, cooking got done. As far as like decluttering and all the big projects around the house, nope, nope. It was a
Yeah.
train wreck by the time I was done. I'm not gonna lie. You can't be everywhere and do everything all the time and be everything
Mm,
to everybody in your house. Like it's impossible. So I think just trying to keep in mind that this is temporary if you're in a program or you have a goal set for yourself, like I'm going to learn this in a year if you're self-taught or
yeah.
however. And then like my like youngest one, she understands now. Like I said, did you
Yeah.
like when mommy was a teacher more, or do you like her in tech more? And she said, well, she was like, I like that you were available a lot more, but we can do stuff now, and I like doing stuff.
Mm,
So
yeah. No, that's true. I mean, I went to the apple farm this morning with my son. We homeschool him. He's 8.
I
I
homeschool
never,
too.
yeah, I never would have been able to do that,
Oh
you
yeah.
know. So it was cool. It rained, so it kind of sucked, but still. Um, What was that structure like? Like, can you talk about the curriculum a little bit, and then how did you sort of like manage your time? Because I know you mentioned that was it just classes on Saturday?
Yep, they were on Saturday, but you also had like modules you had to work through all week. So you had a certain
Okay.
number of hours per week for each one. And it was, I mean, it took, I want to say 6 to 8 to watch everything, build, study
Okay.
the text, all those things. They have changed it since that they spend more time in JavaScript than they used to when I took it,
Mm,
which I think is a great change because as I
sure.
learned app script, I had to learn a lot of, all that. So
Yeah.
it was it was interesting. But the coolest thing I learned on the back end with AI was just how small things like building something to run it through a model, right? Run it through various models at the same time.
Hmm.
How much money you can save a company if you do that like correctly, or
Oh
uh,
yeah.
Python, like in Colab, where you can extract certain parts of files or just, images from PDFs or like all these things, like those small things that may just be a little bit of code, but man, they save hours, so.
Oh yeah. I mean, time savings to any org is always going to be important. So, when you started that boot camp, what was your vision? Like, where did you see that taking you?
I thought it would take me to hopefully a developer job, and I wanted to go back in just because it's hard, because even though I'm personable and I like to talk to people, I'm genuinely courteous and curious.
Hmm.
I like to learn from other people, but then a lot of times if you are personable, like, you're not going to end up doing back end dev
Mm,
because you have too much to offer otherwise, even though you
sure.
love it and you want to do it and you can do it. Companies will see you and say, we might need somebody to talk to people, and that's a lot of times where you end up. Not that that's what's going on where I'm at, but I'm saying it has happened.
Sure. Well, okay. So I guess looking at that from the outside, like maybe being a little bit self-aware, like after having that realization, where did you then decide to start kind of dipping your toe and seeing if it was of interest to you?
I started really, I just wanted to to solve problems and fix things. So that was why it started, because no one else was doing it or they didn't have
Yeah.
time to do it. And so they would need to be able to see who was out today, for instance, without going to a spreadsheet. So then I made it an app
Mm,
sheet so they could just search by their team. Um, so things like that was kind of how I started, if that answers.
sure. Have you always been kind of that facilitator of problem solving?
Yeah. Yeah. In
Is
every
that
job.
it? Okay, at every job. Okay. But that's good though. I mean, again, it circles back to that point of like knowing your strengths and
Hmm.
then trying to figure out how to fit them into what you want to do. To Jared's question here, it is not Taken. It's actually the new Naked Gun movie. Good to see you, Jared. And I see Sebastian's here too. So how does that problem solving then sort of transition into your current solutions architect role? And maybe you could kind of just elaborate on what that title actually means
Sure.
too, because again, like we talked about at the beginning, I think that there's so many other roles in tech besides developer that sometimes people don't really think about.
There are, and I think if you're just searching for developer jobs and you're on the job search, I would say that's your first mistake.
Mm,
Instead of searching for or even prompting ChatGPT for like with a list of what you can do and be like, where does this fit? What possible job titles? It's a great prompt to
I
use
love
that what
that.
might help
Yeah.
you find something. Um, for my current position, what I do is build within Monday solutions and to help clients figure out what solutions they might need.
Okay,
So
and talk about Monday a little bit too for anybody that's not familiar. And let me pull up a link for Monday so I can.
right, so Monday.com is they automate a lot of different processes, and Carbon Web does a lot of different things with it. So they also have CRM products, which will link various parts of, if you had, for instance, a construction business and you want to link different job sites together, you can choose how you're linking those. If you want to do
Hmm.
it by location, if you want to do it by, this bidder, or however you choose to organize something, you can organize it however you want. And you can, well, I would say almost however you want, like that, however is very broad, but you can make it do a lot of things for you that you don't have to go in and manually do in spreadsheets. So when you're at jobs and you have like 17 trackers, I think we've all been there before. And you're like, why are we putting this in another spreadsheet? The
Yeah.
coolest thing ever about Monday is that once you put it in, it can be automated or set up so that it is in everywhere. So you're only entering things
Ooh,
in one time.
interesting. Okay, I might have to check Monday out as
I think
well.
it's pretty great.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. That was a great ad for it. I'll definitely check that out. I do suggest everybody else does as well. So, could you talk about the interview process for here? Maybe talk about the role prior to where you are now, and then let's talk about the transition a little bit. What was your title at your previous role before this one?
Well, my title, it changed so many times. When I was at the first tech job at
Hmm.
Logic, it changed a lot. Because I started out as what they call a content analyst, where you're editing and writing content for
Okay.
grammar, for structure, for what the language model is capable of understanding at that point. And this was before like Gemini was really Gemini
Hmm.
within Workspace. So now, like, well, then they made me like a pod lead over timekeeping and everything, which was really mundane and terrible. Every bit as
Sounds bad.
and I was just like, oh, this is terrible. I'm circling. And then I got through it and got to be of use to people in other ways. So I think when you're sought as kind of an advisor by various parts of management, upper management that comes to you for the way they think that you perceive things, or if you're a good pressure test or whatever, that's what they would use to say pressure checker, pressure test. So like, how is
Okay.
this really going? You know, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't say anything nefarious, but I would just be like, well, you know, I think the feeling overall might be this, you know, or however the
Hmm.
team's vibe is going, you know, because you want it to be good. Um, then after that, they had started putting us over different projects. And so then I ended up over the workspace project, which only had 5 people at that time. It eventually
Hmm.
went to 20, and then sometimes it was 45 if we had a huge need. You know, it just was anywhere between there. I mean, it was somewhere around 70 some client relationships
Hmm.
with developers, but then I had 30 some frequent, you know, because a lot of them were like either one off projects or in different countries. And, you know, it would just work out that we were free or however. So that was how I got there. And so I just kept like every time I saw a need, I would try to fill it in relation to what I did. So that
Okay.
was the way that I was able to move up really quickly in that job.
Nice. Do you feel that at certain points there, because you sort of said you got stuck in a kind of a loop of that mundane role, do you think that sometimes you can do a certain amount of work that sort of pigeonholes you into certain roles? Like, and how do you get out of that?
You can, and also like even though I'm very good at documentation, I'm not always like, ooh, let me do that, right? Because
Yeah.
if you sign up for that too much, you become the secretary. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be careful, and you have to be. I think you have to sort of. This is going to sound really arrogant on my part, but I mean, I think everybody has different gifts, and I
Sure.
think you have to manage your gifts wisely, right?
Hmm.
So I think you have to manage, like, even though you're very good at organization, do I want to organize everyone else's problems, or figure out which problems I do want to organize and go from
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think again, just awareness of your skills and also awareness of the things you want to be doing,
Hmm.
and then advocating for yourself.
Oh, yes.
Um, that's probably a big one. Was that something that you've always been comfortable with doing in your career?
Not always, but then I
Mm,
realized that it was keeping me stuck in pod land, and I was like, no, no,
yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
So
No, that totally makes sense. So, how did the solutions architect role come across your desk, or how did that happen?
they recruited me from LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I can't say enough. Like one time, Taylor Desson was on Career Karma, and he mentioned he was like, make a video, and I was like terrified. It was about 2.5 years ago. It's still up on my top, you know, over there on the side.
Yeah, yeah.
I looked a lot less rough compared to what the overtime from that year and a half did to me. It's okay.
Jeez.
But I had he said to make a video because video content was going to be what sets you apart, right? So I did that, and I've
Hmm.
kept doing it. And sometimes it isn't always like, you know, an Oscar worthy performance. It's not always super valuable to everybody, but sometimes it's valuable to somebody. And I
Sure.
get messages where people are like, thank you so much for your courage, and we needed this, and you know, I'm glad that you put yourself out there, and I need to do that myself. How can I start? You know, and
Yeah.
I'll do free coffee chats with people all the time on LinkedIn for like interview coaching and things like that, even though I don't charge for it, but I do help.
If you guys want to
Thank you.
connect with Natalie as well on LinkedIn there. How important has that been? Was that something that was always kind of on your radar, or what was your apprehension with doing it originally?
With video or just
Yeah, just like content and putting yourself out there like that.
It was, well, I thought maybe he's right. I'll give it a try, and I'll
Yeah.
see. And when he came to the Austin area, I made sure to like show up at a meetup and thank him because he left it on his page. And I feel like that has something to do with it because I wasn't very visible then, and he had a
Hmm.
lot of followers from Guidance Counselor 2.0. So
Yeah.
a lot of things like that. So I think that just to get back to your question, like my intent was to be seen, but also it helps me build confidence in myself. I watch the way that I speak, and I'm like, maybe I need to slow down because if I've had a lot of coffee, you can always tell, like today.
I can have all the coffee and I feel like I'm just one speed. I am one speed all the time, which I
I
actually
was like,
probably is a problem. I should get that looked at. So all right, they found you. Could you talk to us a little bit about what that interview process was like?
I had three total.
Hmm.
One was kind of just seeing what I know, what I can do, and my background. The second one was more in depth of what they do, and then a little more technical questions there, which I was really glad that I learned everything I learned in that 1099 phase that I was having
Mm,
between jobs because I was like, thank God, because I learned so
yeah,
much there. I knew how to do things, but I didn't really know how to articulate them that well, and that's a whole other skill. Like if you can do it and you can't talk about it, no one knows you can do it. you know?
that's a big one. I
Yeah.
mean, I think more people lose opportunities because they can't communicate what they're capable of. On paper they look great, but they can't you if you can't tell us, you can't show us,
Right.
then it's awful. So how did you kind of practice that? How'd you work on that over time to make it a skill for you?
This will sound really lame and it's embarrassing, but it's how I really got there. So I don't care to share. I typed everything out in sections, and then I
Hmm.
on just a Google Doc, and then I would literally read it out loud until I was comfortable with saying the words. And I know that sounds really silly, but really it's like another language. And then also
Yeah.
like you'll hear people say things differently. Like if you worked in a country and you learned something while you were working somewhere where people primarily pronounce it differently, right? So you have like JSON for some people call it Jason. You you just
Yeah.
have to be like which one's more acceptable, and like you're researching things like that. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Due diligence,
Mhm.
just taking the time. I think, again, like to your point, if you want something, you have to put the work in and take those extra steps. Um, what was the first? How long have you been in this role now?
This one just since August.
Oh, okay,
So,
so very very new.
yeah.
How has the first 30 days, 60 days been? I think you just eclipsed not even, yeah, about 60 ish.
Yeah.
You're somewhere in between there. How has it been so far?
It's been great because I feel like there's nobody that works there that I couldn't go to and ask a question.
Mm,
Like it's the best environment I've ever seen for that. And just everybody, like they genuinely watch to make sure people have, a good workload, that it's not too much, that maybe somebody isn't bored or they have, like it's like the good balance is being watched.
hmm.
And I feel like the guys that started the company, they started when they were literally in high school.
Oh, wow.
And they've had it for, I think, I know I might say this wrong, but I want to say 8, 9 years, somewhere around there. But it's been a long time now. But if you think about the sacrifice of someone young, building a business the way they have, I mean, and it's the culture there's just so impressive. I can't say enough about that.
That is awesome. I like that sort of a setup. I just saw on Twitter this kid. He's 16. He was on the original. He was like one of the founding developers at Lovable, and he's leaving at 16. And he's leaving to start something else for AGI or whatever. I'm like, 16.
I know. I wish
What?
I had that brain,
Yeah.
like, or that I
Yeah.
didn't have dial up. I don't know.
I know, crazy. So, I mean, that does sort of pose an interesting question. If you sort of reflect on your path, like what sort of steps would you have maybe iterated on or done a little differently to maybe get here faster or do something different?
I
Just
would have
reflection.
gone against popular opinion at that time and gone into
Mm,
computer science to start with. Like, I
interesting.
value the experience I got as a teacher. I love
Huh.
grammar, but I just like I wish I'd gone for it. And at that time, all you heard was women aren't going toward it.
Oh,
Like women don't
yeah.
really do that. Like where I was from, because I'm from Appalachia, so it was like a lot of people were like, "Oh no, that's for men." You know,
Interesting. So, did you? I guess maybe did you feel a little pressured by your environment to stick to a specific path?
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And just culturally, you're encouraged to, get married relatively young, have kids, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so I was like, what job would allow me to be a good mom? And so I was like, oh,
Yeah.
teaching would line up with their schedule the most. And, that's what my family does. So that's kind of
Hmm.
where I went. But I didn't realize that there were options in tech that, you can really have your own schedule if you get good enough at what you're doing.
Yeah. Wow. That's it's crazy when we look at those things and think about it, but at the same time, like that path got you to where you are now. So it's like, would you change anything?
Probably not. But I mean, if I was like younger me, I'd be like, I'll go that way.
Yeah. No, I get that. So now what's your workday like? And you've got your oldest daughter is out of school, and then you said your youngest daughter's 9.
Yes. And I homeschool her. So.
Nice. Oh yeah, that is a job in and of itself. How do you balance doing that with a full-time role?
We had a big conversation before I started this role, which was less flexible than my last role.
Hmm.
So I, and it's not in a bad way, you're just very busy. You have a lot to do. So she understood and she's like, okay. She said, so what I'll do is put a star beside of things I have a question about. And then if you have a break or it's your lunchtime, we'll go over it really quickly. And then if I have questions on anything in the afternoon, I can ask you then. And she's very good about, I don't have to stay after her. Like she's a kid that wants to do her work. And so I had little mailboxes outside of her door, like a little folder holder kind of.
What?
And I put the work in for the next day and I went in there and she already had it finished. She got up at like 12 at night and did it all so she wouldn't have to do it the next day. And I was like, so now the
Wow.
mail handle in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
Good for her. That's such a great like system that you guys have in place. I like that. I might have to try something like that. And my wife handles most of it and it's pretty structured, but we're always looking for feedback. So I like the mailboxes.
yeah. And
That's
Google
cool.
Classroom is a good resource. It's free. Like you can sign up on there and have videos for your kid and enrichment.
Oh my God. That's brilliant. Okay, I'm gonna mess around with it as soon as we get done. All right, let's pivot a little bit. I want to know how do you do a lot of in-person events? Do you go to conference? Like, did you go to Comichiko 2 weeks ago? You weren't
No,
there.
I need to, but I didn't want to take time off at a new job like this. I didn't want
That's
to go.
fair. That's
Yeah.
fair. I
But
can
I want to be
appreciate that.
part of that so badly because he's doing such cool stuff. I saw him from far away at Kalahari, but he was like looking for food, like for dinner. And I
Yeah.
was like, he's worked out so hard. I bet he's worn out, like
Yeah.
you know, so I didn't want to bother Danny, but, I did see Taylor there and I met Ryan Furr there and, you know,
Nice.
Thomas was there, I think. So there was a few other people there. That
That's
was,
awesome. So once you're able to again, how important are in-person events as far as like just growing your community and your career?
from 1 to 10, I'd say 12, 15
Whoa.
out of 10. Because I do go
Whoa.
to some events here in Austin that are monthly events. I go to different things there.
Okay.
Um, like PMI, I go to that sometimes, not all
Oh
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
time. Go to just like their AI meetups, Women in Tech in Austin. There are a lot of things like that that I do go to. I try my best to get to at least, I try for 2 to 3 events a month, but you know how it is. Like it depends
Oh
on your
yeah.
work schedule, but.
Oh yeah, work and life be life, and I can appreciate that. So you had mentioned AI earlier on, as far as like looking into it and stuff with Google and Gemini very early on. Like, how important is it for you in your career? Just also then looking at the larger theme for people in general to like stay on top of AI products and technology.
Oh, it's huge. I think that Jordan Wilson runs a really good, the everyday AI. I think
Oh
it's,
yeah,
I hope I said it right. Um,
let's find
but
out.
I'm pretty sure it is. But he runs a really great show every day, and I would listen to it sometimes in the morning before work. And even being in the field, he was so on point with like what he was saying about everything that was coming down that was like confidential at that time. He knew a lot of things that like really weren't. I wouldn't say they were mainstream news even. At that
Oh,
time.
okay, think that's it right there.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Cool. Well, everybody can go check that out. So, outside of this, what resources are you using to personally kind of stay on top of things?
Right now, Monday.com, because I have so much to
Mm,
learn. There are over 200 different integrations. Like it's enormous, like how much stuff there is to learn with that. And
nice.
just how it all works together. The different products, like they have Workspace, like work management, CRM. They have some dev stuff Carbon Web is doing and that Monday's doing. Like there are so many cool things going on that I study that right now. But what I also have been learning is Oracle's Apex.
Oh, yeah, I've heard a lot of big things about Oracle recently. You are not a full-time dev at this point. Your title of solutions architect. What tools are you using every day as far as like AI related to kind of get through your workday? I know you're very familiar with Gemini or using ChatGPT. Like, what are some of the prompts? I always like to kind of see because as a community manager, I still use AI quite often, and I think a lot of people again don't see the capabilities of it unless you're a developer. So I'm curious how you use it.
I agree. Right now, I use it primarily. Monday has something called recipes for the low code world. And so it's how the words are put together to make things happen, right? To automate everything. So you can enter it into ChatGPT, like what might I enter to get this result, and right now it's this. You can even do like screenshots in there if you want to. And it helps you figure out like what you should do next. I wouldn't say it gives you all the answers because it doesn't, but you have to
No.
know how to prompt and how to shoot for what your end goal is and be clear about that.
Yeah.
But I do use ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude.
All really great tools. I'm a big fan of Gemini just because we have it at the company, so we pay for like all of the bells and whistles, so I can use all of it. They've also recently added like integration with like your Google Calendar and your email, which was huge for me. What would you say for somebody that isn't really super experienced with AI yet? Like, how should they kind of approach it? Like, what would be like a good first step?
If they weren't working in tech or just, you mean,
It just people like I mean, a lot of developers are very resistant. So, what would you suggest them or they do just to
I
kind
would,
of get involved?
I'd start with something small, and just be like, how should I, what should I put into VS Code to do this? And
Mm,
it will sometimes even break things down into different files for you and tell you where to put things. They won't always be right, but usually they are. So I think that's really helpful. Like, if you tell it to build you an app, it doesn't just build the app and hand it to you, right? Like it tells
yeah.
you what to put in and where. So I think that's one way. If you're just an everyday person, like for instance, if your wife is homeschooling, she could say, what are enrichment opportunities for science in what state are you in?
New York.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay. It's beautiful up there.
No, not
Even
not today. It's pouring out.
I used to take the train from Boston down though, and that's a beautiful train ride.
Oh,
Like
nice,
the
nice.
Northeast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but you could have her. Oh, New York has enormous PBS resources too, like online to
Oh,
use.
cool. Yeah.
So, yeah, you could ask that question though. Just what resources do we have that would enrich my child's knowledge of this? Like, and
Hmm.
even if you want to drill down, like anatomy, physiology, whatever.
Interesting. See, I didn't even know that. Another really great resource to use with AI. Um, what what do you do to manage your time as far as like work and life? And I know you mentioned you saw physical signs of some of the like burnout
Oh yeah.
that you may have experienced. So it's like, how are you balancing all of that now,
The
especially in
good
a new role?
the good thing about having been through that is that I sense things when they start to tick up a little bit. Like
Mm,
if you haven't hit the end of it, I don't think
yeah,
you're not
yeah,
like, oh no, we need to stop and drink water now. We need to get up. We need to,
yep.
do all those things. So I'll try to like do blocks for myself. So about two and a
Okay.
half hours of like really focused in work if I don't have any meetings or anything else coming up or nobody needs anything urgent. 2.5 I find is about where that's like my sweet spot of like
Okay.
great focus. And then I can do up to 4, but it requires coffee,
Yeah.
which for some people, I mean, it makes me talk faster, but then it calms like uh, the brain going everywhere.
Hmm. No, I can appreciate that. I think I've just had so much coffee. It doesn't like I could drink coffee at like 9 p.m. and still fall right to sleep. So it's just like it doesn't, I feel like it's more ritual than like actual benefit.
Mhm.
Um, What Taylor always asks this, but now I'm curious as to what your go-to like coffee setup is. Are you an iced, a cold brew? You like the hot? Like you a pour over? You have a French press, Chemex? Like there's so many different things.
Normally hot. Sometimes though here in Texas when it's like 104, you're like, nope, not today, Satan, and you go for the iced. I like just I like a caramel macchiato. I know that's really generic, and I know they're calorie bombs, but they're so good. Like that's the thing that I like.
That no, they are very good.
Mhm.
Um, what do you see next for you? Like I think a lot of people look to their futures as like you might want to stay where you are, you might want to stay a solutions architect, but there's obviously so much tech out there in the industry. It's like what do you see next on the horizon for you as far as like learning and stuff like that?
As far as learning, I would love to get to where I'm a little further, like not necessarily all the way in the back end, but have part of it for
Mm,
just integrations and making those work within possibly Monday or wherever. I do love the idea of being at Carbon Web long term, not
yeah,
just because I just started there. Like I
yeah,
would skip this part and not say anything if I didn't mean it, but I do. I would like to be there for a long time, long time. My
sure.
ultimate career goal is probably just like eventually, as my child grows up, just more motivational speaking, learning to like explain things to people who, because I've been there, where you feel like there is no way out of certain situations, it will never
Mm,
be better, but there absolutely is. You know, if you've been through a couple divorces high or anything like that, like you're like, I need to figure me out, you know? So I think that,
sure. No, I love that. How important is like sharing that message to you? Like
oh,
connecting with other people and kind of giving them that resource.
well, it's very important because I'm from one of the poorest counties in the nation. So my dad was
Mm,
a high school teacher. He was there when President Johnson declared the war on poverty in their county.
wow.
And that county is still very poor. It just, I don't know. I don't want to say it is all mindset. Some of it's mindset, some of it's opportunity, lack of opportunity. Geography certainly is at work in the mountains. You know, it's
Mm,
harder to get in and out. Things
sure.
cost more to get in and out. Businesses don't want to come because the population's so remote because, you know, they follow the rooftops, as they say here in Austin. And,
Hmm.
you know, they're not going to do that there because there aren't as many rooftops.
Yeah.
So there are some opportunities in that there's a lot of like coal severance money, grant money for people there that you wouldn't get elsewhere, you know,
Hmm.
to go to college or to learn things or to that fun software and things there. But I feel like that message is so important because it may not be Martin County, Kentucky, but there are so many other people like in the middle of nowhere. And that's why you'll see I post a lot of not as much on LinkedIn as before, like before I got more career minded, I
Hmm.
guess. But I post a lot of, I follow hip hop music very heavily. And it's not
Yeah.
because I feel like it's the same struggle at all, because it's not. But I feel like there are connections to be made there because I'm
Sure.
a huge Wu Tang fan, Wu Tang Wednesday. Like I'd never been to Vegas in my life, and I just hopped a plane and flew out there by myself and wanted to see them. And so
That's
and
awesome.
when they talk about things, it's like yes, there's language, whatever, but the ultimate message, you know, they came from like literal projects. And they stood up there and they were like, thank you all. You all saved our lives. This is why we're where we are. You know, because if people hadn't bought our music, we wouldn't be here. And so I think that message of gratitude is so huge.
I love that. I saw the Wu Tang Clan a very long time ago. I won't even say the year because it'll really age me.
But you probably got to see ODB. I saw why
I
you
did.
you did.
Yes. No, I did. R.I.P. Um, yeah, wow. That's awesome. So, do you, I guess looking back, do you feel like an important message for you too is just sort of breaking out of that like that template that was sort of designed for you where you grew up in this very poor area and your family sort of had this archetype of how things were supposed to go, like was that something that you like always sort of saw that you had to kind of move past?
Yes, because being one of four daughters, and you know, the dad was a preacher, and the pressure just to get out of bad situations
Mm,
was there, like that you couldn't get out until he looked at me one day. He's like, "Get out," you know, like of that situation. But
sure.
without that push, though, the pressure on yourself is enormous, and that can be from religion, from money, from just family traditions, like you're saying, like anything culturally. It
Mm,
can come from any direction, you know. So I can literally sew a quilt, can food, I can do all those things, but I also love to be in New York City in the middle of everything and talk to everybody. So I think it gives you a wealth of experience that other people wouldn't have. But I also think that like it's so important to take a hard look at what you want. And I would see it as being selfish. Like success to me was like selfishness, money was evil, like all
mm,
these beliefs that you're raised with. And then now I'm like, wow, the difference I could make with like Parkinson's awareness, which dad passed from, or
Mm.
Alzheimer's or anything like that that's close to my heart. Like I feel like those causes can be better served if I do better for myself. So that's
Mm.
another thing.
Yeah, no, I like that. As far as like kind of working through some of these challenges and stuff, was like your surrounding community or the people in your network, were they good resources for that?
Yes, and I will say, like a lot of former teachers that I worked with are friends now. That I mean, they were
Nice.
friends then, but also those friendships have stayed. Even, and I think that Target used to give a personality test when you work there, because a lot of people I worked with at Target in Framingham and Marlborough, Massachusetts, they are still some of my very best friends. And this is like 12, 13 years later. We've kept up with each other online, and I feel like whatever test they give people, like you click very well with the people you work with at Target. I don't know why that is.
That's funny.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll just go do it just to understand my personality, and then I can figure out who I should be friends with from there. What sort of a community are you building down there around yourself in tech now?
I wouldn't say I'm building one around myself. I kind of attend other communities because
Okay.
I've never even, that's never occurred to me until you just said it. So now I'm like, so I may have a new project, but I don't really know what type, I guess, needs to be built the most that doesn't already
Hmm.
exist. So like, there's already like Danny's doing great things in Dallas, in Austin, the women in tech organizations, the AI, people that get together every month. The Google developer community is great. If you don't know about it, I know you
Hmm.
do, but I'm saying like if other
Yeah.
people,
Just in general, sure.
yeah, the people there were great and very welcoming. And just PMI is good. It's going through a lot of changes and they're trying to like update things, but it's good.
Hmm.
And I just feel like I think just being part of things, and I've never been to an event. That's what I wanted to add to your in person question. I have yet to go to a single event, whether it's a coffee meetup, a dinner, anything, and not learn something from somebody. And it doesn't matter what they do. Like, no matter what
Mm.
their background is, I've learned something valuable from every single body. And I also feel it's important, like the building I worked in like Austin, the janitors will work, custodians will work, and people would just walk by them like and I only understand about every third word of Spanish, but they would force me to use my Spanish and try to teach me. And so
Yeah.
one lady, she walked up one day and gave me a hug, and she's like, "I love your attitude," and I was just like, I almost cried. And then another person I worked with said, "Well, you're putting a lot into that relationship, like you shouldn't do that." And I was like, I've had jobs like that. It's not cool to be treated like a piece of furniture. Like
Yeah.
you have to work hard sometimes to get by.
No, that's true. So what would you say is the one thing you look for when you kind of go to an in-person event? Like, what are you looking to get out of it, or and then on the flip side of that, what are you looking to contribute?
I go into it hoping to learn something, even if it's not directly related to my line of work, right? So if it's
Hmm.
just like a view, that's what it is. I like to go to learn different points of view and how to approach situations differently or better than I would probably do on my own. So that's what I hope to get, is like a different perspective is what I'm looking for. What I hope to offer is just a friendly face, welcoming people. I love to make people who don't feel included.
Mm.
So that's something I really, and I like to do that as a teacher. I like to do that just in person. I always did like to do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And again, you sort of bring that from your past and things you've built into what you're doing now. So I like that. Would you, now that you've spent some time in tech, is this something that you can see yourself kind of saying to your kid as they're growing up that they should be kind of aware of as a potential role?
Yes, and my youngest one has expressed an interest just in like she's fascinated by robots, and she says, "Oh,
Mm.
well, maybe I want to be an art teacher." And I'm like, "Well, you could do a little bit of both." She said, "Yeah, maybe art teaching could be my side gig, but I could really work with the robots." And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds good to me." So that's kind of my oldest one is an art major in college, and
Okay.
she's doing marketing internships right now, and
Nice.
so I'm really grateful to be able to be in the Austin area and survive here, frankly, because it's expensive here, but
Yeah.
compared to home, but like she can have a laugh that I never would have been able to offer her, and I will tear up if I
Mm.
think about that too much.
Oh,
But yeah,
I love that, giving them the opportunities. I mean, that's why we do it. I mean, typically the question I ask at the end here, and we are kind of coming up on it, but I'll ask it now because it's a great tie-in, and then we can talk about something else too. Is what does success look like to you, Natalie?
success to me looks like being as available as possible within reason to the people I love. and being able to take them to see different things, experience different things, different places, and to learn that everybody from everywhere is valuable, for various reasons. Like we all have something to offer, something to bring to the table.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Now I'm picturing like an artistic robot teacher, like somebody that's like building crafty robots or something.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some sort of a bridge there where both of those things could be. Um, when your daughter mentioned she wanted to be an art teacher, were you a little bit like, we're not going down the education path, or do you still kind of have that in there?
I tell her that it's really nice to help other people, but that if she wants to live somewhere like where we do, that is not, and she has to support herself, that's probably not an option really. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm honest about it, but I'm like, if you're going to do that, you have to be prepared to also have another job, or you have to,
sure.
not. I'm not trying to tell her that it's okay to just only do that. Like I want to be
Yeah,
realistic as well, but not
yeah.
discourage her.
No, that makes sense. How do you approach those conversations? I'm curious because obviously, you don't want to be like, no, that's dumb. Like,
Oh
no,
no, I
you
wouldn't say.
you'll never. Well, I'm being pragmatic.
Yeah,
Obviously, you
yeah.
wouldn't say that, but how do you kind of approach those? Because again, you want to nurture and direct, but also, as an adult, like, there's no way in hell you're just doing that. So,
Yeah.
how do you tackle that?
Well, I had a very hard year with my oldest one, trying to decide which college to go to, what to go
Mm,
into, what her major should be. She was choosing science because she thought, oh, she needed to go into something medical because some, other people were that she knows. And then also she felt like that was the only path because she didn't want to do computer stuff like I do, like where
mm,
I'm on the computer a lot. So she doesn't want to do that. So she was like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go toward that for the money. And the only reason was for the money. She had the most miserable semester of her life. And I tried to tell her, I was like, if you're going for something just for the money, it's not going to fulfill you any.
mm,
Like if it's not going to give you another purpose on the other end of it, or you're not getting anything out of it, it's just the clicking in your brain isn't happening all day that makes you happy. It's not going to work. So she ended up, she had started out as business and art together, and
mm,
then she was stressing out so much all the time. And
yeah.
I said, if you already have these marketing internships in this area and people are already getting to know you, I think you're okay there. I
Oh
think that
yeah.
you have a lot of really good connections. So I think if you just do art and take some of that pressure off yourself, she said, but that sounds so dumb. Just I'm an art major, and I was like, no, it doesn't. So she went for it, and I couldn't be more proud of her. Like she goes to art fairs around here and sells stuff. And I'm so, so proud that she went for what she wants to do. So she's a
Nice.
senior now.
What kind of art does she sell? Like make?
She paints canvases. She makes everything from little brain rot bracelets, with the little phrases on it. She does all those
Unfortunately.
things.
Does
Well,
she have an online store that we can like link here for people to potentially buy stuff?
she goes by Cactus Ramen, if that's useful. I don't
That's
know if she has a Depop right now or what,
Cactus
but she's on
Ramen.
TikTok as Cactus Ramen.
Uh, TikTok. I'm gonna look. Let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. Found it.
Yeah,
There
she's
we go.
creative.
All right. Well, we'll get this into the Discord. So
That's
the
awesome.
brain rot neck bracelets definitely piqued my interest because unfortunately my son knows what that is. But
Mhm.
um, do you? Oh man, I just had this really great question and I completely spaced out over those bracelets. Do you feel fulfilled where you are now?
Yes, I feel like I do feel like once I have a better handle on learning everything in there, because there is so much to learn. But I feel fulfilled in the sense that I'm able to do what I need to do. I can do things that I want to do. And you're never punished in tech. What I love about tech is that you are never punished for learning more. You're
Mm,
never, you don't ever just know too much, or like you're just sharing useless knowledge. Like everything you learn is useful. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but further down the line, you're going to be like, I remember when I learned this and I'm glad I did because I can use that here.
yeah, I like that. Do you have any sort of sage words of wisdom for people that are looking for a role? Like what worked for you to get to where you are now? I know they reached out to you, but you had to put yourself out there a certain way for them to see you. So, how did you do that?
The thing that I think helped the most was I put lists of what I was doing at my job as statuses. So I
Mm,
would put, and I put the little emojis on there because people love that on LinkedIn. I don't know why, but they do. Not to me. I'm very like, here it is. Here's a smiley face to soften that, whatever. But I made lists of what I was doing in regular terms, just what I was able to do, list of the programs I was able to use, And I went from there. And so that was where I had the most, I would say, recruiting outreach happen in my emails and in my inbox messages. But sometimes I would see signs of places I had previously been that I did not want to go back to that type of environment. And
Mm,
so I didn't either just didn't respond or didn't take it or was like, I'll stay where I'm at before I go back to that. So, you know, not that anywhere was terrible, but it just wasn't right for me. So
sure. No, that makes sense. What would you suggest for people that are trying to sort of get more visibility? Like what should they really be focusing on? That's also worked well for you,
I think for
besides what you just
visibility,
mentioned.
yeah, I branded myself as Natalie NTX. And so I think having some kind of little name for yourself where
Mm,
people can easily find you across platforms is good. I'm that on almost everything except for X, and it like is available, but it won't do it for some reason. I don't know what's going on with that, so I'll just
that's
leave it.
weird.
I know I'm kind of sleeping on X right now. I need to get back on there, but I hear people say good things are happening career wise on there. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'll get
as
on there.
much as people dislike it, it hasn't gone anywhere. You know, there was a mass exodus
Mm-hmm.
last year at some point when Blue Sky started, but Twitter's still there. So again, it's like take advantage of all the options or the resources that you have,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're looking. I feel like you don't want to like narrow your scope by just using one thing.
Yeah, that's very true. And then being open, I would say, to things that you're like, I mean, when I got the message, I was like, what do they do? You know, because I didn't know.
Mm,
I'd seen the name before, but I didn't realize what they did. And so I kind of had to do some research there. And I was like, okay, I think, and then I think just being open to the conversation. Like if you talk to someone the first time and you're like, I don't think that's for me, that's okay. But at least you're trying to put yourself out there and research options, because
yeah.
when I first got into it, I would walk around on my planning periods, like if I had my stuff caught up, whatever, I would put my AirPods in and I would listen to interviews on credit or not credit, but Career Karma.
Mm,
I would listen to those back when Career Karma was kind of the older format. But I
okay.
would listen to different, I think and I would fold the clothes, listen to tech stuff, take Coursera courses, watch the videos, let them play while I was cleaning around the house. Like, I think if you don't have much time, the best way is to really focus on what you're doing, like what you want to
Mm,
do and like think about that and create that vision for yourself.
yeah. Also, you don't have to engage with everyone and everything. That
Very true.
that's very true. How do you deal with that? I feel like there's a lot of that feeling.
Yeah, you do feel obligated almost when somebody reaches out sometimes. But then if I'm like, this person is only trying to sell me something I don't need,
Mm,
and I don't, and not always sales, but sometimes it is. And I'm just like,
sure.
I feel bad for them and I want to support them, but am I at the end of the day going to be providing them with any value? If I take that half hour of my day.
Yeah.
And I mean, true, I would always learn something from them. But if it's a day you're especially stacked and you're like, I don't really want to spend my time doing that, sometimes it's okay to say no. And that was
Yeah.
hard for me to learn because I'm big hearted. So I just had to be like, no,
Sure.
thank you.
It's hard getting comfortable like saying no to things. Like,
Hmm.
a lot of people struggle with that, so I can appreciate that. Last question here, and this has been really great. Thank you. I have
Thank you.
tons of really good sound bites, by the way. And again, shout out to the Wu Tang Clan. I almost said the
Oh,
clan. I
always.
was like, oh my god, I can't say that. What? Wrong.
Very
Anyway,
cool.
shout out to the Wu Tang Clan. Shiny object syndrome is a big one in tech.
It is.
How do you manage that?
You mean like not wanting to pursue this shiny object?
Yeah,
I manage it
or maybe
by,
you don't. Maybe you don't.
I don't because I've seen the inside of the shiny object.
Oh, okay.
And it's not that it's terrible, it's just that it's not for me.
Sure.
I've had people look me in the face and say, you get to clock out, I don't. And I'm like,
Mm,
like I want very
yeah.
much to be able to always, like, my job encourages, like, you taking your time for you. You know what I'm saying? So,
Nice, nice. I
yeah.
like that. Yeah, that's a hard one. I see that a lot. And again, it comes down to kind of priorities and self-awareness and time management, all things that sometimes all of us struggle with from time to time. Well, this has been really great,
It
by the
is.
way.
I've enjoyed it.
You're
Thank you so much.
awesome. No, thank you. Thank Natalie so much. Thanks everybody in the audience. I see Rosvin just got here. Tehran and Roxy showed up late, but they made it, and that's all
Maybe they
that
were on Chrome
matters.
too today.
Yeah, maybe they exactly. Damn Chrome. I don't know what's going on with that.
Me either.
It was great to have everybody here and everybody go connect with Natalie if you are not already connected.
Would
Some
love
great
that.
content going over there. And yeah, we'll see. I think we have resume reviews. Nope. I don't know what we have tomorrow. Laid off lounge, I think, with Matt Stauffer, good friend of the streams. It was great to see everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. You can head to Torque.community for our calendar, and Natalie, stay for a second. I'll say bye to you backstage, and
Okay, sure.
everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow. Remember, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. We'll see you guys soon.
Very true.